Hello and welcome to the Kitchen Garden Farm. This thing is big and I can't wait to show you all around. So this kitchen garden was set up for the Born to Heal Ranch. This is a ranch and retreat that services women from all over the country. And a big part of the retreat is allowing the guests to get to eat from the kitchen garden. So I want to show you what's growing right now and tell you more about this space. So here in the front, we have these long, low beds. These beds are 1 foot tall. Oh, butterfly! These beds are 1 foot tall. They are 4 feet wide and about 10 feet long, I think. Yes, maybe even 12. These beds are so great for growing lots of crops. Now, right now, these vincas have basically taken over these beds, but if you want a lot of production, growing in beds like this size are wonderful for things like beans and peas, greens like Swiss chard and collard, lettuces, spinach, kale. I love this size bed for lots of production. So it's 4 feet wide, 10 or 12 feet long, and just 1 foot tall. I mean, look how pretty these beds are, and they are just packed. So that's the first 4 beds. So even before we get into the big kitchen garden space, we've got over 48, 96, almost 400 square feet of bed. Is that right? 4 times 12 is 48. No, almost 200 square feet. Sorry, I really do have a minor in math, I promise. All right, then we come into the bigger part of the kitchen garden space. We have these massive arch trellises that were built for these beds. And I just love the modern look for them. They are growing right now these yard-long beans. This is a legume that grows in the heat of the summer. We have zinnias in front, lots of herbs, and then these beautiful eggplants are growing here in the front. You can see some shiny little eggplant babies. There's more over here. Look at all these little eggplants. They're so pretty. So we have eggplants, and then we have okra. You're gonna see a ton of okra in this garden. Lots of chives, and then we're gonna move to these inside beds. So these beds are our formal potager design, which is 4 L shapes that really create this sense of being in a room. And let me show you what I mean. Like, do you feel like I'm in a room here or what? I think so. So inside this formal potager are 4 smaller beds here in the center. These beds are 4 by 4. I think they are 18 inches tall. So they're a little bit shorter, which I think is so cool because you just feel like you're, hiding in here. This is African blue basil, a total bee magnet. Hello bee, see that? This is a total bee and butterfly magnet. It is wild and crazy. You have to prune it. And you can see all the seeds. I mean, my goodness, this thing is crazy wild, but it is so good for the health of the garden. We also have pineapple sage in here. And then back here on these obelisk trellises, we have some cherry tomatoes that are growing, and so happy, starting to fruit a lot, and hopefully these tomatoes will ripen as the days go on and hopefully get a little bit cooler. So the L shapes continue around the back here. We have more okra, we have more basil, we have a few peppers back here, and then here on the trellis again, we have some more of the yard-long bean that's growing up. And maybe one day we'll reach the top of the trellis. I don't know because the trellis is so big. The plant is really gonna have to work hard to get there. Okay, so that's this L shape. I'm just gonna, just for fun, will you just follow me through really fast? Okay, we're just gonna walk through the formal potager part of this garden. And then once we're done with that, I'll show you the rest of the garden space. I just want you to feel what it feels like to walk inside a formal potager, all right? So I'm in here, so you get to take care of this bed. You do a little bit of tending for this garden, and then you just step right over here. We've got some mizuna, lots more African blue basil. This basil is going out of the bed. Oh, it smells so good. It smells like lime. Then we have this okra here, and see how you still just feel this L shape really gives you the sense that you are inside of a room, you're inside a space. All right, so keep coming through if you can. Lots of basil. And then this arch trellis gives you kind of a doorway feeling. More bees flying overhead. And then you can just continue to move around the garden space still inside. All the time you're inside this formal potager. So what's neat about this large kitchen garden is even though we have lots and lots of beds, by putting the formal potager design right in the center, it's kind of a meeting place. It's, you know, it's a place where you can kind of come and retreat, which is the point of this place, but then you can go out to the edges of the garden space to see more of the working beds of the kitchen garden. Okay, so that's the formal potager section. Now we're going to turn this way, and I'm going to show you a few of the greens producing beds. Now these beds are in transition right now. We have 6 beds, so these are 18 inches tall, and I love this shape of bed, this size bed for getting lots of production. So these are in transition. They're going to be moving to fall crops. And you can just see how much soil space there is and how many plants you can fit into each space. This Swiss chard was planted way back in April, and it's still producing and doing great. So such a great sign of what you can do in these working beds. Now we're going to move to the back of the garden space. And here we have a mirror of what we have up at the front, but this time these beds have paneled trellises, so we can grow plants up the back wall of the garden space. So we can grow vining things. You can see some of our pole beans are starting to grow. We have some fall squash here. And then just come with me along this back pathway and we'll move over to the final side of the garden. So that side, if you noticed, is actually under, or not under, but it's near trees, and that is south. So we are going to focus on green growing on those beds, and then this side is the sunnier side of the kitchen garden farm. So this is where we focus on our fruiting crops. So we have these 4 beds back here that can do legumes and squash and cucumber, zucchini, and then up here, these 6 beds are the ones where we use to focus on fruit and crops, like any kind of gourds. We did watermelons up here. You can do in the fall, it'd be a great place to do your root crops, things that need more sunlight. So this is the kitchen garden farm. I want to show you we're actually growing asparagus in these beds. So when you have this many raised beds, you can have a couple of beds that you designate to just be perennials, and this one is one of those. So this is going to grow asparagus year after year. Eventually the asparagus will fully take over this bed. Right now it's sharing, but eventually it will all belong to asparagus and will be something they can pull from every spring. And then here we're using our obelisk trellises and growing some cucumbers up the trellis. So it's a lot to cover in like 5 minutes, you know? But this is a kitchen garden we've been working on since last fall. It's been like a year in the making, and the vision for this space is so wholesome and life-giving. The people who work here and who direct the Born to Heal Ranch and Retreat are really all about the total wholesome healing of women, and I just love it. So special to know that they see the garden as a central part of that. To get to create a space like this for them in this retreat is a dream come true. Honestly, it really is. Check out Born to Heal Ranch and Retreat and tell me questions, thoughts, comments you have about this huge, gorgeous kitchen garden farm. Now let's take a final walk out through the formal potager. Sound good? Here we go. And maybe I'll grab, you know, a couple of tomatoes. Is there a ripe one? There's at least one ripe one. I think they got all the ripe ones before me. This whole kitchen garden, all I got is that one little tomato. Ooh, that was good. It really was. See if you can get through the basil, I don't know. Thanks for watching. See you next time.